Well, hello everybody. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Been a while since I did a video, and I thought I would put one out today while I've got a few minutes. Just came back from about an 8-mile run, and while I'm sitting on my rear, I thought I'd do a update on my pair of Umbriferums. This is the pair I got last year, maybe I think it was about July. So I got them when they were about two inches. They were wild caught from the Rio Magdalena, and a really wonderful pair of fish. They were growing out in a 135-gallon tank. I think I mentioned on my last video that I was going to move them to my 1,000-gallon system in April, and I ended up moving them here about mid-April of, so I guess about 5 weeks ago or so. I was a little afraid that when I first put them in, they might be timid and get picked on by the slightly larger Parachromis fish in here, the Freds, male Fred, 4 Jags, one Honduran type, actually a pair of each. Well, let's back this up. A pair of Honduran Jags and 2 male regular Nicaraguan. In fact, there you can see the one of the males sparring with the male Umbee, and in the background there you can see my very large chancho. You can also make out a few bite marks on his nuchal hump, and that's not from the Umbee, but it's actually from one of the Jags. And slightly to the left there is the female Umbee. And the meow you just heard is Alice. Say hi, Alice. There she is. And there are my running shoes. So anyway, now you've got the whole thing. Alice is going to go away after she made her big debut. Well, actually not her debut, but she's kind of bored with the whole thing, so she's going to take a nap. Anyway, the Umbees, like I was saying, I brought them into this tank a little worried. They're not quite as large as the other fish, although they're rapidly catching up. And my fears were unfounded, because very shortly after putting him in here, the male Umbee has, I wouldn't say he's ruling the tank, but he certainly is not backing down from anybody. That big chancho in the background there is still probably the ultimate ruler of this tank, because he is incredibly big. But the Umbee's holding his own with everybody else. This pair has spawned several times when they were alone in their 135. They have not spawned in this tank yet, which doesn't surprise me, given the fact that there's about, well, I think about 8 other fish in here that are all as big or bigger than they are. But I would suspect that they probably will at some point. Trying to give you guys a little distance from the tank so you can sort of get an idea of the size of the tank. The Umbees, not nearly as big as the ones I had in here a few years ago, but the male is, I don't know, 13 inches or so now, and the female's maybe 8. When the female spawns, she just is this is an incredible strain where the female just becomes bright lemon yellow. You might want to refer to one of my older, I think the last video I did showed the female and the male lip locking in that 135, and her colors were just crazy. Anyway, I'm going to get a little closer to the tank now, so you might be able to get a better shot of this Umbee as we get a little closer. And there he is. And of course the chancho is not camera shy. He's been in lots of videos, so he's going to come and say hi, I guess. He probably figures I'm going to feed him. But again, you can see a few scales taken out of his nuchal hump from some fighting he's been doing. Again, not really with the Umbee, but it's been more with this Jag right there. And here's the highlight of the video again, the male Jag, or excuse me, Umbee. As you know, this is a fish that comes from basically Panama and Colombia. There's multiple strains in the hobby now. This is the original strain, just your generic blue Umbee. Of course, we've got blacks and greens and all kinds of different things these days. I still like this particular strain the best. I think it's got the most color, certainly has tremendous personality, and there's not much more you can say about it. It's an open water predator, which is very different from one of my other favorite fish, or actually my favorite fish, Dovi, which is a gape and suck predator. Over here is the female. Really done too much with her. I'm going to slide my chair over here. And there she is. She's actually very colorful as well, very different coloring than the male, but that's classic female Umbee. You can see the black finnage and the yellowish color. Males never get those colorations. If you have a Umbee and you're not sure what it is, if it's anal fins and dorsal get that black in it, it's a definite female. This is again the female. Trying to get closer. You can see this one has some red up in her head, kind of where that nuchal hump would be in a male, and it's really quite an attractive fish. I'm really happy with this particular strain that I've got. Of course, I've had Umbees for years and years. Originally, I had Umbees back in I can't honestly remember if it was the late 70s or early 80s when people didn't even know what they were. Original pair that got written up in Bumper Sheets BB, the ACA's little magazine, was owned, if I remember right, by a guy by the name of Tom DePiro back in the East Coast, and he had entered them in a variety of shows there, and he didn't win because he didn't have a real name for the fish, and which caused a lot of stir, I guess, back in those days. Paul Oisel, I believe, is the guy that finally figured out what they were. There was a huge pair in Belle Isle Aquarium in Detroit back in those days. Jim Langhammer was the curator there, and I remember a picture in BB where it shows his head next to a male umbrophrum, and it was really exciting. The thing was just gigantic. And at that time, I had a male. I just didn't know what it was. I had thought it might have been a crouse-eye, which is another fish in the same genus, and it turned out it wasn't. Back in those days, of course, there was no internet, not a lot of photos, not much information available on these fish, and I did the best guess I could based on Goldstein's books and some of the stuff I had access to, and I thought that actually the fish again was a crouse-eye, and it turned out that when I saw these BBs, I realized that I actually had a Umbee. I had picked it up in Carson City, Nevada when I went to visit my parents between my sophomore and junior years in college. There you can see the Umbee sort of staring down the chancho. And of course you can see the male's got tremendous coloration, really great fin extensions. He's got a lot of teeth in there too, which if he came closer you might be able to see, but actually let's see here. Trying to get him. That's hard to do. Anyway, really shimmering coloration. Really very, very much a show fish. He's not shy in the least. Dashes about the tank. Flares at me even in this big tank. And I'm sure that as time goes by, him and his little female over here will probably end up being the dominant fish in this tank. Anyway, so I just kind of wanted to give you guys an update on what was going on in here. Again, these fish have been in here for about 5 weeks, and they've actually put on pretty good growth in just that short period of time. And so I'll leave you to it. There's the Honduran jag I was talking about. This gives you kind of a sense of the size of this tank. And I guess that is it for now. So enjoy your holiday weekend, and I will talk to you soon.